Hey guys, it's West here, back with the Summoners War video. I thought today I'd make a little video about this new update since it seems pretty good. We got some bonus goodies in addition to the balance patch that was previously promised. Com2uS announced that they were going to have a balance patch upcoming, and in addition to that balance patch, we got a few other good changes. Now, if you haven't seen the balance patch, we're going to head over to the website here really quickly. Light Archangel got a slight nerf to the attack bar gained each turn. I think it's kind of fair. Light Archangel's still going to get a ridiculous amount of attack bar as a result of being hit with crits, being hit. Period. In addition to that, the defense takes a little bit longer to ramp up. It's still going to ramp up to the 100% bonus defense, but it's going to take 10 instances of being hit to do that instead of 5, so it takes a little bit longer for Light Archangel to ramp up. Also kind of nice, Archangel still hits the same peak, but it just takes longer to get there. Heart Magician switched, Song of Switch Destiny now can no longer be resisted. Puts yourself to sleep, so kind of a little bit of the Tableau treatment, but it also ignores immunity, which is kind of nice. I'm assuming the putting yourself to sleep is what's ignoring the immunity, as in your character, is going to fall asleep afterward. Just to make it a little bit more fair. I see that the small LD nerfs, well, big for some people, I guess, in the eyes of others. I think it's kind of nice, kind of closing some gaps between LD monsters and some of the the just regular element Nat 5s. Next we have the Light Fairy Queen. She got changed. Of course, she no longer stuns with her first skill, which is kind of nice. She still does the attack power reduction. She still has the triple hit, so she's still good in Necro, wherever. If you're using her for your PvP team, and probably Necro, maybe in Dragons as well, she's still going to do what she does. Now she's going to be a little bit better in Dragons, I guess. You can make that argument with the attack bar reduction instead of the stun. This is for balancing purposes, as I feel like the stun rate on her first skill was... it hit pretty often for being, for having the harmful effect rate that it did. Still going to be strong in RTA. It's not really a crazy nerf by any means, but it's a change. She no longer has a stun, and with the attack bar reduction, she's going to be better against certain enemies and no longer have the stun potential against others. So maybe the RTA comps where some people use Fran are going to slightly change, but I don't think it's necessarily going to nerf her. The rest of her kit's still pretty strong with her third skill and her second skill, heal based off of attack power, and I mean, just her kit is pretty solid anyways. Small nerf though. The Light Valkyria, this is pretty relevant. The passive got bumped. It's no longer just a 15% chance or 15% reduced crit rate chance on you and all allies. It's now 30%, which means effectively any nuker coming into a defense, which is assumably where you're going to be using the Light Valkyria, is going to have only a 70% chance to crit effectively, which is kind of nice because it'll give you some sustainability against, or some potential sustainability against those one-hit nuker comps, Lucian comps. You're just gonna end up taking less damage theoretically, but it's a nice buff. I know there's some people who have the Light Valkyria and just aren't a big fan of her because they don't think her kit's strong enough to be on that level of other LD Nat 5s, and I tend to agree, and I think this is a nice step in the right direction. Light Hell Lady now increases her attack bar based on the dots she lands on enemies, which is nice. It looks like they're trying to give other units the potential turn cycling abilities. With the unicorns being so strong with their ability to turn cycle, specifically the water, the fire and wind ones, I have noticed some other units have been gaining some similar abilities, and now the Light Hell Lady is one of them. She's going to have more turn cycling. Again, another LD Nat 5, which I think it's not bad to have some changes to some of the weaker LD Nat 5s, as there are plenty in the game that just are lackluster, especially in comparison to Nat 5s like Yanhong, Nat 5s like Ragdoll, Artemail. So that's always nice to see. The Poseidon changed the Water Sea Emperor. This is really exciting. The damage is now based on attack speed and attack power, so most people are going to build their Poseidons quickly because whether you're using them in TOA or PvP, you need a lot of speed to get off as many turns as possible and move as quickly as possible so you can reset the attack bar, get the slow off, you know. It's really, really nice. There's also another change with Poseidon down below we're going to talk about. Poseidon all around is getting a good buff, and I'm a big fan of the unit, so it's nice to see that he's getting some more love. I already thought he was strong. I didn't think this change was super necessary, but some of the changes, I mean, I really like it still. Next, the Fire Fairy King, his Hellfire ability will weaken the enemy's defense for 1 turn if it removes beneficial effects. It's a buff they're working on Daphnis still. Do I think he's going to be really that crazy? Not really. Defense break for 1 turn. I think defense break for 2 turns would have made a little bit more sense. Defense break for 1 turn is not crazy relevant. Well, because if you're using it on a Nemesis monster, for example, there's a good chance you're not even going to get to see the advantage of that defense break, because in things like RTA, you're not always going to be running you're not even always going to be running like 3 or 4 nukers in your team. So you, by the time another unit gets to attack, you might already have missed out on the benefits of that defense break. So I think 2 or even 3 turn defense break would have been nice. Maybe that's me being greedy, but I think that it's a step in the right direction toward making that guy a little bit more usable. Desert Queen, the Fire Desert Queen is pretty nice. I like this buff a lot. They're really trying to make her more relevant. Over the past few balance patches, they've slowly been making changes to the Fire Desert Queen to try to bring her up to her sisters. You know, obviously Hathor and Bastet have seen ridiculous amounts of play because their kits are just really, really solid. For RTA and even other areas of PvP, they're really good. So now, if you don't reset the enemy's skills with your 3rd skill, the cooltime of this skill is reset, so you're going to get another chance. It's going to make sets like Violence slightly more appealing, because if you miss your 3rd skill, if it doesn't hit, it gets resisted. They have immunity or whatever. But you don't end up landing the skill. You could potentially Violent proc and get an additional chance to land that skill, which is nice. So I think that's pretty cool. Wind Monkey King, he's getting a little bit of love. He doesn't get a crazy amount of RTA play. I know there's some players who use him. He gets used quite a bit in Guild Wars, at least that I've seen at like the Conqueror level. I don't do Guardian Guild Wars, so I don't really notice if he's that relevant that far up the chain, but they're buffing his passive, which is nice, in 2 ways, giving 10%, reducing the damage by 10% even more. 35% damage reduction is kind of nice. 35% chance to counter when an ally is attacked, pretty nice. So he's getting some nice little buffs to hopefully give him a little bit more of a push to be used. Do I think it's going to change how much he's used? Not a lot. I think it might make some more people look at him because 35% chance is pretty nice. He's a very niche pick in my opinion. He's really good against turn cycling teams that are going to get turn after turn after turn. So the only problem is some of the more heavy turn cycling units are fire. Between Vertihil, between Helena, units that turn cycle a lot, units that are scary, and he's a little bit less relevant against those units. Just because they're fire, and he's going to have a smaller chance to stun against them, which is kind of what you hope for. Is they attack your unit, Wind Monkey counterattacks and stuns them, and they get punished for attacking a unit basically, or for taking as many turns as they're going to take. The next unit we're going to talk about, pretty big change, the Wind Paladin. Now, in addition to her big shield that she gives to your team, she also gives immunity if they're full HP. The reason why this is really nice is because now we basically have a second Wusa in the game. We have another unit that provides a shield and immunity, which is nice with the rest of her kit. So I think she's getting a lot better for RTA. I know a lot of people had the opinion that her kit just seemed lackluster compared to the other paladins. And I would agree with that as well. The shield amount was reduced a little bit. It's now 20% instead of 25%. But I think it's a very worthwhile loss, or trade-off for 5% shield for 2 turns of immunity seems very worth it. The build you're going to probably want to put her on is going to change a little bit. Swift is going to be a little bit better, because if she gets the first turn before any enemies have had any chance to do damage, you're going to get a chance to put up that immunity. The only thing is she does have lower base speed than Wusa by like 10 or 11 speed, I believe. So it's still going to be, Wusa's still going to be very relevant in the game. So next up we have the Dark Kobold Bomber. He was a Hall of Heroes, hope you guys saved him. Now he does a strip, an AoE strip with his 3rd skill. I would assume that applies before the silence because that's all that would make sense. So AoE strip into silence, it's kind of nice. It's probably good against some teams. I could see it being useful in Guild Wars. At the very least, it's an AoE strip. Now, I'm not sure whether the damage is applied before or after the effect. If the damage is applied before the effect, and you could get him on a little bit of a damage build, then against shield will teams, if you could do enough damage with him, then you could hypothetically do enough damage to hit the shield, and then the strip goes off and removes the immunity. But I don't know, I'm assuming that the damage happens afterward. There's a lot of abilities like that where there's effects that occur, but I'm not quite sure. If that is the case, then he could have some niche uses in things like Guild Wars. I don't think it's going to make him RTA relevant. Maybe it's a nat 4 farmable stripper, or a nat 4 you could have farmed it stripper, but I mean there's other options. Water Puree, not a huge change in my opinion. I'm sure we're going to see somebody who takes crazy use of it in certain RTA comps. But the damage increases by 50% for each beneficial effect on your enemy. It's kind of a weird change, because usually one of the big beneficial effects you're going to see on the enemy is going to be immunity. Immunity is really strong, obviously, because you could prevent harmful effects in your units. So you're not going to have the defense break if you're taking her into immunity. So are we really going to be able to take advantage of that? I don't know. Cowgirls are getting a buff across the board on their first skill, increased damage. Kind of nice. It's always nice to see increased damage on units that aren't used as much, or even units that are used as much that are just need a little bit of a push. Fire Cowgirl now hits a single target hit before the AoE hit, so it's an extra chance to stun a specific target with the same stun chance as the AoE. The Wind and Light Cowgirls now have 10% more chance to strip a beneficial effect. Nice. Light Cowgirl passive decreases attack bar by 20% instead of 10%, and defense break up to 75% instead of 50% on her passive. Relevant because she's just going to be more reliable in dungeons, which is really, it's always really nice to see PvE changes. Because it's nice to have some quality life stuff in PvP, because it's not nice when your PvP teams, or your PvE teams are failing as a result of RNG, or just the activation rate is always frustrating, especially since there's already mid boss that you can't land a defense break on in Giants. The Fire, Water, and Dark AoE skills. These are the AoE Cowgirl skills. Now have a 50% chance to remove beneficial effects. I'm assuming this means all beneficial effects since it's plural. That's nice. 50% AoE strip. That's pretty relevant. That's cool. 3-star AoE strippers. I know it's only 50% harmful effect rate, but I mean, you have to look at it this way. It's a nat 3, so I think that's pretty cool. It's always nice to see the higher level PvP skills be given to lower level units. A good example of this was when they gave immunity to Lulu. Of course, there's conditions to be met where your HP would have to be full in order to get that immunity, but I think it's still really good to give these lower level units some level of viability, because I'm sure we're going to see at some level of play, we're going to see the Cowgirls probably get used in a team or two. Maybe not crazy usage in RTA, but for sure in Guild Wars. I mean, that just makes them better, I guess. And the Dark one, increases your crit damage when you land a critical hit instead of getting you increased crit activation. Could be nice. Dark one seems kind of cool. Maybe potentially an AoE Duker with the strip skill. But I haven't looked too much into that. The Light Panda owners are going to be very excited to see that their Dragon Dance is back to better than what it was before. AoE, 3 hits. Now I will stress that I believe this is 25% chance activation rate for each part of this skill, in case it reads differently for any of you guys. Attacks all enemies 3 times to inflict damage according to your max HP, so obviously you're going to do more damage based on your max HP. You're going to do that anyways. The first attack removes 2 beneficial effects. This is AoE. Second attack decreases the attack bar by 15%, and the third attack stuns. So AoE, 2 beneficial effect strips. Most of the time there's going to be like 2 beneficial effects in the enemies, like shield and will, unless of course you're getting like the second or third turn. But you're going to decrease the attack bar by 15%, and then you're going to stun with 25% chance each. That's a that's a lot better than the 25% accuracy that you got before by Awakening. So that's, I mean, they wanted to make, I guess they wanted to make the Light Panda better because some people thought it was an unfair nerf to him, but I would say that's a pretty good change, and that Light Panda owners should be pretty happy to see that. Also, the Wind Sea Emperor upon Awakening gets 15 speed instead of 25% accuracy. Very, very relevant. Anytime you're giving that amount of speed to a Nat 5 that was kind of on the border between good and okay, is going to give them a big boost. 25% accuracy, in my opinion, not as big of a deal because you could get that out of runes, you could get that out of set bonuses, from focus. So it's not crazy. A lot of people who run strippers are running accuracy slot 6 anyways, just because they can get all the tanky substats they need at higher levels just by having those substats, having enchants and grinds. 15 speed is very relevant. It's gonna make him a way better stripper. And note that he is much faster than Tiana now, so keep him in mind when you're building your teams and when you're thinking about potentially some other instances in PvP where you're gonna have to deal with Triton. So also, I think that's a cool change. I think he needed a little bump. The leadership skills of the Water and Light Paladin are changed. They're now accuracy lead, universal accuracy lead on the Water Paladin, universal resistance on the Light Paladin. Good changes there. I'm not a big fan of the Guild War leadership skills. I know that Com2uS felt, or I feel like Com2uS felt, I can't speak for them, that these units were going to be very big in probably the guild, in both guild PvP and guild PvE with the Tartarus Labyrinth. I feel like that's one of the places that they were built to be used in, just based on what their initial kits looked like they were going to be useful in that content. So maybe that's where the original idea for the leaderships came from. I think on Nat 5s, I don't really want to see leadership skills that either don't match the area of the game that they're going to be used in, or just don't seem that relevant. And Guild War accuracy doesn't seem super relevant. I like Guild War speed a lot more, or just really good Guild War HP or defense lead. But the universal accuracy is nice for the Water Paladin. Obviously, you want some accuracy on her for the strip and the stun, and then the universal resistance for Light Paladin just makes sense. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of that. Water Sea Emperor Poseidon got another buff. In addition to his damage now based on speed, he also becomes an attack type. I looked at the stats. It's only like a 70. I think it's like a 70 attack increase. They slightly decreased defense, slightly decreased HP. His HP is still above 10k, and they gave him a little bit more attack. It's gonna make runes a little bit better on him. I think they could have given him a bigger buff to attack and taken a little bit more out of HP. But that's just my opinion, because I just really like the guy. There were some monster errors that apparently were occurring. I didn't experience any of these. I don't normally use these, but if these are relevant to you, then they did get changed. We're gonna go back to the game here. Now, in addition to that, we got a little bit on the side, a little cherry on top of our whipped cream and the rest of our cake that we got from Com2uS. We got a rune drop increase in Kairos Dungeon and the Rift Dungeon. A bunch of confusing jargon. I don't know why they worded it this way. I don't know what they're doing. They've reduced the amount of 5-star runes that are dropped up to hero. I think that means that the legendary 5 stars have not been changed in terms of drop rate. And the amount that they've reduced the 5-star runes, they've increased in the 6-star runes, if that makes sense. They've just shifted the percentage of rune drops from 5-star a little bit into 6-star. In addition, the higher grade runes have also received the same treatment, and the gems, the higher grade gems in the Rift Beast dungeon. So it said in the Rift dungeon. So I don't know if that also means raid. I kind of hope it does, but I don't think it does. When it says Rift Dungeons, it seems like they're trying to, I don't know. They've increased the rate at which you're going to get those 6-star runes at triple S rating and the higher grade enchants and grinds at the higher, the higher ratings, the triple S ratings of the Rift Beast. So that's a nice quality, that's a nice little change for Rift Dungeons. But the Kairos Dungeons is always nice to see. I think they should continually buff. I think they should buff the drop rate of 6-star runes all the way up until it's like 35% chance of getting a 6-star rune, because let's be honest, even like 80% of the 6-star runes you get as you're going through mid and into late game aren't keepable, just because they're not going to have the stat quality you need. I mean, for PvP, anything less than a 6-star purple rune starts to just be lackluster. In my eyes, for a lot of PvP situations, anything lower than a 6-star purple rune, at my point in the game at least, for the goals that I'm trying to achieve, are just not worth it to me. 6-star blue runes are kind of just an instant sell, unless maybe I need some weird off rune or a slot 2, 4, 6 that I can't quite hit on a unit I'm using in like a Rift Beast dungeon or something like that. But even then, there's very specific skills I'm looking for. With this change also came a change to the intermediate pack. It's also getting renewed, so if you bought it already, don't worry, you're going to get an additional chance to buy it. 2 parts of the pack. They swapped out the Awakening Force for a Forbidden Evolution. Forbidden Evolution turns your monster instantly to 6-star, and they've buffed the crystals by 250. No, they haven't. It's the same amount of crystals over 10 days. Yeah, that's okay. They've shortened the amount of time it takes to get your crystals. Okay, makes sense. Legendary Pack B got a significant buff. It used to be $50, now it's $100, just for anybody who's confused on that or hasn't seen it yet. Double Legendary Scroll turns into Transcendence. 750 crystals turn to 1,000. Energy turn to Awakening Force. Awakening Force instantly awakens any monster, all the way up to Nat 5. So, in addition to that, you get the same amount of crystals. You get, you get the same amount of crystals. It's just over 10 days instead of 15. The base crystals you get increased by 250. It's another Transcendence pack, so that's the big thing. So you're going to get 2,500 crystals in a Transcendence Scroll. I think the Transcendence Scrolls are invaluable. I can't stress enough the value of a Transcendence Scroll, especially with the blessings right now. If you don't have a blessing right now, wait. Fuse a Nat 5. I know it sounds ridiculous. Fuse a Nat 5, trade it in for a blessing, for the Splendid Blessing. Take the extra time, get the blessing. Don't summon a Transcendence Scroll without a blessing. I would never do that, just because you get to choose. I did the pack, by the way. We'll show a little sneak peek of that before the end of this. But it's super worth it if you're spending money on the game. I'm not pressuring anybody to spend money on the game, but if you are already paying money into the game and you're buying crystals for whatever reason, I would recommend you get this pack because it's a guaranteed Nat 5. You're not going to get too many guaranteed things, especially in Summoner's War. So any guaranteed thing you can get, you might as well. I think it's cool. Now the level limit of monsters to participate in World Boss has been reduced from 30 to 15, hopefully making more people able to participate in the World Boss and get some of those small rewards, some mana rewards every day, potentially some good rewards. I'll pop up a picture on the screen. I just got a Devilmon. That was pretty exciting. It's been 8-9 months since the last time I got a Devilmon from World Boss, so it's been a long time. In addition to that, they've darkened the background of the storage because apparently some of the things were blending in. Okay. The Super Angelmon has been changed from level 1 to level 15 that you get. So you shouldn't get a Super Angelmon at level 1. That didn't make sense anyways. Dimensional Hole, they changed the graphic. There's some bug issues. Yeah, they're really trying to hype up this Dimensional Hole. I'm gonna be excited once I see what's actually going on. I'm not gonna get excited about the hype for it because I don't know. We haven't really gotten any concrete information about like what the gameplay is gonna be, what the mechanics are gonna be like, how this is really gonna impact farming. Because it seems like it's just gonna be another dungeon to farm or another area where you're gonna be forced to spend energy. There's some other small bug fixes and stuff like that, and you get a free mystical scroll for being involved. So overall, really happy with the change. Anytime they're changing units in the game, I'm excited. Anytime that they're upping the rune drop rates, also excited. Here you go. You can stare at this intermediate pack that I bought and shame me in the comment section, but I had to get it. I'm going to pop up on screen the 2 options that I had for my Transcendence summon. I don't think for anybody this is going to be a tough choice, or they would think I would choose anything besides the recently buffed Wind Paladin, but I'm honestly not a huge fan of Ariel. I know Ariel's a really good healer, but you get the rolling heals over time, and you get the huge single target healer. But especially with the change to Louise, it's really hard to pick anything but her. I mean, if you look at her kit, it's just really strong. 100% attack bar reduction activation rate on her first skill, and a stun and attack bar reduction. You get your single target like full cleanse into invincibility for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown, and then you get your Wusa, shield and immunity. So, and 4 turns on that, it's not bad at all. So, a 3-turn shield on a 4-turn cooldown, it's pretty nice. You're gonna have really decent uptime on the shield. The immunity is only for 2 turns, so there is gonna be a second where you don't have it, but I don't know, it's not bad at all. In addition, you're also getting an AoE heal too. This is something I forgot to mention. You're getting an AoE heal into an AoE shield into immunity. So if your allies are like 22%, like 22% HP missing. So if they're at like 78% or 79%, let's just say 80% to just dot our I's and cross our T's. If your allies are at 80% and she moves, so even if you do go like second, you can get an AoE heal into that shield into immunity. So even if you're not, I believe even if you're not full HP when you cast the ability, you're good, because it says afterwards grants immunities on allies with full HP. So you could heal so you don't even need to go first necessarily. I still think having a really, really fast on Swift, unless you could do like a 250 speed violent Louise or faster, that would be nice too. But she's gonna go pretty well with Bruiser Compson. I mean, just about everything. You're gonna find a way to pair her with everything. It's really exciting to have another unit that gives immunity that's gonna be relevant in the PvP meta. But that's it. I've talked your heads off for long enough. This was my opinion on the most recent patch. What are your opinions? Are you guys gonna get that Nat 5? Let's be real. A lot of you are. I'm sure. Don't front like you're not gonna get those free Nat 5 scrolls. But that's it for this video. Sorry about the hiatus. Don't worry, I'm talking about it in the next video. I'm not trying to just skip over it like I was, like I've been here for the last month and a half. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, it's West again. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more.